Yes. Shot out of a cannon right now. Shot out of a cannon. This is Tour Buds Live. Welcome, everybody. This is a show where we meet with some of the greatest minds and talents in music. Today, we don't have my compadre and tour bud, Derek Garabedian, but we do have our guest, and I just started the show with him, Mr. Frank Mitaritonna. What's up,
Hello.
man?
How's it going?
It's good. It's really interesting the dynamic that we have because we did a little like pre-chat
Mm-hmm.
before, like a little sound check, and every time we talk it's like we could just like chat forever, and I had to
Oh
like
yeah.
watch the time to make sure that we were ready to go, like not missing the show. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Kindred, man. You're my brother from another mother.
Yes. The you are one of the I feel like you're one of the greatest talents. I'm not just saying that because like I like hanging out with you as a person. I've worked with you and all that stuff. I think that you are one of the greatest talents in the producer world, engineering world. And I feel like working at VuDu, like I know Mike is like the guy there, Mike Watts. Do you feel like
That's you. Come on.
oh, he's the name, dude? Like
Of
that's
course,
the
of course. Yeah.
my point is this, like, Mike is the name. Like, do you ever feel like do you ever I don't think you get enough credit. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, is that by design? Like, you
That's a
want
heavy one to start with. I was gonna dig into you about that intro music. I was like, who mixed that? You cheating on me? It sounds good.
well, that is, by, we used to, manage artists, as you know, Derek,
Yeah.
and that is by Pete Zen. Shout out to
Yeah.
Pete Zen.
Yeah. Shout out. Good
Um,
stuff. Love
yeah,
it. I was like, I'm hyped. Uh,
exactly.
Listen, there are enough people doing this, and there is so much fierce competition in music production, engineering, and the creative world in general that you can't get ahead about like who likes who because my best friend or the guy in the band I just worked with is going to be the next person to take the next gig from you. Someone's going to always wind up working for somebody else or with somebody else, or credit's going to go away from you from something that you did, and you can't let that you can't let that be your prime focus. You will always feel insecure if you're constantly worried about those kinds of things. So my focus is always just, the quality of my work, the legacy, how people feel when they're around me. I think that's more important. If I feel like everyone had a really good time and made something that we all love, I really don't care who gets credit, and I know they'll come back at least eventually. You know.
That's interesting because so it's less it's not even about the internet, like, I guess, prowess or whatever for you. It's more about the relationships that you have, which obviously, like, you're the only producer. I've worked with a lot of producers before you, but you're the only producer I will work with now, like, hands down, like, unless I have to, like, like, I get paid to do something else
That's
somewhere.
that's a part of it too. Sometimes people don't want to, be here. Sometimes there are other forces that, usually it's returning people. Yeah, that's the way
Yeah.
we like it.
But I think that's to your credit. Like, you are so easy to work with, and you are so like you're also, I think creatives like you too because you're able to like tap into this. Especially me as a drummer, you do this thing where you're able to hear something that I just didn't even hear. Like, hey, try this, try something else, and you get the best takes out of people. It's unreal, man. Like, how does that happen? Is that a learned thing or is that natural?
I think it all comes from what you hear in your head. I hear musical performance. I think it comes down to the records you grew up listening to. I think the difference between what I do, maybe what other people do, is just what you listen to. When I hear a musician in front of me, it always alerts the great musicians that I've already heard. So what would they do? Whether it's someone from yesterday or 10 years, 30 years ago. I want things to sound like great human performances, and I've been very lucky to, learn from really talented people and, inspired by what they have done, and pass some of that on as a non-drummer. And I was also a big Kubrick fan. He likes a lot of takes. You
Yeah.
know, I'm pretty fast with editing, but I'm not a person that prides myself on what I do to other people's music. I don't need that stamp. I don't need it to be quantized by Frank or go through my chain of anything. I'm way more happier when something happens spontaneously in the moment, natural, when it comes from the musician. If I think of something and they think of something a little better or different, it's usually what I will like and prefer. I don't want everything to come from me. Um, so what is usually necessary is just to do it more, do it, get comfortable. If you're singing or playing drums, there's a lot of pressure and a lot of focus on you, and you need time to immerse, get used to the monitoring, how things sound, how you sound, how your past performances now translate through the speakers when you listen, and how you can level yourself up. So it takes time and repetition to get comfortable, to really hear, and that results in a lot of takes. Now I have a like a vocalist I work with, that I just finished mastering her stuff today, Kelly Baker, who's like an absolute, fucking powerhouse vocalist, did all her vocals in one day, and they're like one take. Sometimes that's how it is for some people, and most of the time people want to do it a lot to explore what's possible, and I'm just waiting to kind of grab on the thing that's interesting, or maybe they didn't expect or did by accident, or we both found really interesting, and those things, they happen more with more takes.
Yeah.
So you got to do it, and you got to be willing to do the work, and it's way better that way than me doing it after.
Yeah, you gotta get the best takes to instead of get it in post. You could say that about like anything creative, film or anything. You gotta get the best, not worrying about, oh yeah, I'll get it later. Whatever. Mixing, we'll
Yeah, it's
mix it
even
later.
early jokes, like, bands I used to work with, like in the home studio. They, their last guy that they worked with was the guy that said, "Oh, I'm really not that worried about it, or I can fix that." And there was like an ego about like how much of a hotshot you were in Pro Tools about being able to like fix stuff, because when you got it real tight and edited, then you were the guy. But now everyone can do that, and everything is so much easier and automated. That skill set is no longer valuable. It always comes back to musical taste, and creating original musical ideas and things that make people excited to listen to music. The computer will take that job away eventually. So if you're not worth, making music with, you know, you'll be phased out.
I don't even want to go down that road yet, or maybe not at all. I don't even want to. It's just so depressing. But listen, hold
Old
on.
man yells at
This show is all about like first of all, this show develops it's we shot 6 episodes interviewing 12 bands on the road at shows,
Mhm,
and we got into like we're trying to kind of like bring this what it really is like being a musician on the road, and it's tough and it's hard, but it's also exciting. We want to kind of like raise awareness and bring people out to support more,
mhm,
and like also learn from people who've been there and who are doing it longer than others, and also this is a really good chance for us to understand that like every band before you tour, this is all part of it. Like the production is everything. Like before a band goes on tour, you have to have something to latch on to. You have to have something to listen to. So obviously people have to have trust in you. They have to go somewhere where they could hear, they could give it to everyone to listen to, and like how does that, do you ever like feel that weight on you?
always, yeah, yeah. Yeah, and you don't also don't want to like trash people's past work, because having done it, you've done it live and touring a lot more than I have. When you're going out there and you don't believe in your record that you spent time and energy and money and all of that, it's a horrible feeling. And people can read that on you. I want people to really believe that the thing that they did is special, and for me to feel that way, and that I didn't let them down, that I realized every possibility and made it as good as I possibly could. I just want that confidence. I want them to have that and take that forward, and give the music a life that is going to grow them, because it comes back to me and it comes back to them. So that weight is always there, that pressure. Not making demos, not doing necessarily what people ask you, doing what they need you to do, and that is usually making a record that will hopefully be timeless, and you know
Do you try to
support
hit it out of the
support the rest of their career. You know what I mean? People are going to listen to
That's
stuff. I listen
huge,
to
dude.
stuff that I did. I still cringe. We get better and all that stuff, but at the time, it's the best I could do. And even some of my favorite records, I listen back to and I go, "Ooh, that was cool. That they okayed that," but they loved it. That's the thing, and everyone thought it was the best, and went full, for it with all their energy, and that's what blows them up. That's what gives them the strength to tour and sleep in vans and sleep on floors, and play to nobody. for
Yeah.
the amazing amount of loss that you need to invest in order to build a band business from nothing.
Yeah, like I said, this is all part of the things that the aspects of what it is to like be a musician that people don't see, like the countless hours that we as artists spend with you, like the producer and the engineer, like they don't see it, and it's so tough, but it's also so interesting. It's so like some of my favorite memories I had like recording were at VuDu with you. It's just like, just having it, just laughing, we're just laughing our asses off and having a great time, but also like feeling so fulfilled. But like that surely can't be the same thing with every artist you work with. Like, have you dealt with like a lot of frustrations? I'm sure. I mean, I know you have. Can you talk on any of that?
Oh, what, uncomfortable sessions or things like that, or where the vibe wasn't good?
Vibe was off.
Levity is my thing, man. If I feel awkward, I'm gonna crack a joke, and if nobody likes it, then it's just for me, and at least I feel better. But usually, people lighten up. I'm very empathetic, and I like to, address what I feel are tensions, and their tensions are all they're all the time, and the more weight on a record, sometimes the bigger the artist, the more pressure and expectations and long-standing interband tensions and things that they've learned to navigate that you have to catch wind of. All of that stuff always factors in, and it's not always a riot, and it's not always laughing, but a lot of times it is, and you always get back to that.
How do you
um
handle a diva?
a diva.
Yeah.
Ah, come on, please. No, it's I'm very lucky. No one really tries to put me in that place. I usually tell people, just once for me, humor me, and usually I'll only insist if I really believe that something good's about to happen. And then, I just tell them, imagine the world without that you just did.
Mhm.
It's I only care about what needs to happen. People have insulted me, doubted my experience and taste, and it's okay. That's fine. Creative people are very varied. Some of them are very insecure, some of them have a lot of pressure on them. And I don't expect them to be office etiquette professionals. I don't expect them to kiss my butt or pay reverence to things that I've done. It's okay. It's
Yeah.
going to happen. You're going to get shit on. You're going to get insulted. You're going to get doubted. And, just like in other, other professions, when you're critical of things, when you're uncomfortable, you make better decisions for the work. You know what I mean?
Mm.
It's not always about making everybody comfortable in the office. It's about, what are we working on together? So I put that aside.
Yeah. I I know that you've worked with a lot of artists on labels, and we'll go into that, but do you ever see these bands that you work with on tour and you kind of wish that that was you, or are you just like, this is me, this is like my zone?
Yeah, I was lucky. I fell into this lane a little earlier than I fell into playing in bands. I was always a musician, lifelong musician in school and independently and all that stuff. So I'm very proud of my musical experience. But um I would just I would do demos for my friends' bands and for bands around that were seeking me out. I was really, really lucky that my dad pushed me into recording. Um, it was equally, if not more, creatively fulfilling, and the record sounded better. I had more joy making records for this band because the music is new. I get to listen like a listener and use a small skill set of being a musician to help them. And if it even just one little thing, if it gets incrementally better, or you're just there for it, it is so much fun. If you can love other people's music that way, I don't need to be a musician. I loved it when I did it. I played, for big artists, openings and little mini tours, and played big crowds and all that stuff, and had a blast doing it. I satisfied those creative and collaborative moments, but I don't miss it as much as I would miss not doing this.
You know what? I was thinking like, I don't think I phrased the question correctly. Like, do you ever
Could
wish
you please?
this is a live show,
Yeah, I also, I have like these pre-programmed tangents. I'm like, make
No,
sure
no,
it's
no. This what you said is amazing, and it makes sense. What I mean is like, do you ever see like, you work with Covet? Are you ever like, I wish I was on tour with them, like that specific band. I wish I was like.
I love Covet everyone from them. I'm happy to see them doing their thing, and it is not an easy life on tour. And I
Oh,
don't I don't worship some of the things that some of the people I'm very very lucky to work with
yeah,
go through on a daily basis when they're on tour. That's their world, and they get to reap the accolades of that sacrifice. They get to, drive 15 hours to make a set time and a load in time to play a set so, they can feel the love from their fans, get the moment on stage. That's not where my work is. That's not where my glory is. I don't deserve
it's
it.
just like, you get to be part of that creative process, but you don't get
Mhm.
to play it, I guess,
It means something to me to hear people react to something that I worked on, you
Mhm,
know? If
mhm.
there's, like, an intro track, it's like, "Oh, that's exactly what I recorded," or
You
something
you're
like
you're
that coming through the
basically
PA, it's like, "Awesome, yeah."
you're another
Um
member of the band,
Mhm.
essentially.
While they're working,
Yeah,
but, it's on contingency and it's on merit, so at any point, you can be ejected from the circle of trust, you know?
yeah. It's, what do you prefer, engineering or the production side, like producing?
It's a two hat job for me right now most of the time. I wouldn't feel comfortable doing both if I didn't feel very very confident in this room and my judgment and my engineering skills, because you need to bracket most of that technical problem solving stuff away and do it secondhand to remain open minded. And
Mm,
when I work with Mike on records and when he's lending a candid ear to things, it is so much easier for him to hear things that everyone in the room who has tunnel vision might not have heard right away, or just flat out missed. And that understanding that dynamic and having been able to be a part of a production team makes me always remember to keep that musical ear open as much as possible when I'm engineering and producing. um, and I'm very much hands off, in terms of production style. I believe that presenting the artist in the best way possible is going to make the best record and have the most identity. So I'm not trying to change 10,000 things. So if I have demos beforehand or we're playing the songs live, I make most of my suggestions and most of my choices and pick my battles as the song is going down, you know?
mm,
Because if you didn't do the work to pre-pro with the band 6 months before, if they haven't rehearsed those changes, they're not going to bring them into the studio. If you haven't put your 2 cents in on the songs being too long or you think the melody's not good enough, you're not going to fix all of those problems on the spot. So I consider myself a very good engineer who produces more than a producer,
hmm,
because a lot of producers that I see, and no disrespect, who come in only as producers but aren't skilled in engineering, a lot of times they are overcompensating and getting in the way of the artist. Whereas someone who's just in tune with the artist as an engineer and understands how to get good takes can get most of the work done for free. The
mm,
artist is the artist. They're not going to learn how to sing in the booth because you told them how. They're not going to.
yeah. Yeah, it's
And if you
crazy.
say too much, you throw them off. So how much are you going to really change if you didn't do your homework?
Well, I feel like you work with every instrument very well. I feel like you excel with vocals the most, especially like singing vocals. Is that something you take pride in?
It's because of my beautiful voice.
You're able to get all the great harmonies, man. I mean, it changes a record. Like,
Everything.
harmonies are huge.
Vocals, it is something I have an affinity for. I never sang for a long time. I don't think I have a good voice. I'm a great backing vocal singer in a band, so I have that experience. And I have experience in ensembles. You play in the school band in jazz, you will learn to hear harmony. When you're the second best horn player, you get to play the harmony, not the melody. You learn by listening what harmony sounds like. So listening to classical music and jazz and all of that stuff that I was forced to play just built my ear to hear harmony correctly. And then I studied music theory, and then I learned from great musicians, and I learned from people with really great taste. And that stuff, it comes second nature. I don't have to think a lot about it. And I approach harmony with intention. You know, what note is missing from the song? What would make the melody pop here? What feels empty? What would support it or brighten it or add the complexity that's missing? You know, it's all approached with intention. And with respect to vocals in general, you know, if you've ever spent 20 hours recording a song and mixing it, and then you listen to it on your phone and the vocal sucks, it's pretty much a waste. You
Yeah.
get the vocals, everything. And at some point that wisdom was bestowed upon me, or it became, apparently important. And I set my intention on being good with vocals and melodies. And again, if you work with really great singers and you listen to really great singers, you'll understand what a really good vocal is naturally, you know? It's not
Mm.
about how well you tune. It's not about how many suggestions you offer. Some people do it in one take, some people do it in 40, and some things are put together a syllable at a time with great, attention to detail and coaching and maneuvering. But, as long as you have in your head what a great performance sounds like, as long as you know what a singer sounds like, you'll get there. And that's, what I grew up listening to, pop, alternative, rock, progressive music that all had vocals for the most part. And
Yeah.
no one was auto tuned.
You love it though. You love autotune. Stop it.
I use auto tune by hand.
You said something that I latched onto is like just real quick in that, and in that you work on these projects, mixing them for hours upon hours, and that could get old. But has there ever been a project where you're working on, and before it gets old, it moves you? Like, have you ever been like really moved by a project that you worked on, and
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
what has gotten you to the point? Have you ever cried? Have you like legitimately? Yeah. What from what?
Oh, I can't count. I'm like gonna get choked up now. I was thinking about them.
Good.
Yeah, just no. That's the blessing of it. It's
Tell me. Go there with me. Tell
don't
me.
you dare.
Tell me, what is
That's
it?
like Good Will Hunting. Like, God damn it, Sean. It's not your fault. Ah,
It's not your fault, Will.
no, I'm not gonna highlight anybody specific. There are sometimes there are lyrical things. People that I've worked with. I can think of a few. I think my buddy Kevin Preller, Like Minded Criminals, is one of the most talented singers that I've ever worked with. Great songwriter. Just there's a lot of songs that we did that really got me. Um,
Tell me one moment where it just hit you and you just lost it.
mm-mm. No.
Tell me. Go there with me. Let's go there. Just tell me one moment where it just like
Mm,
just describe the setting. What was it? What was that moment that actually hit you?
might have been 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, off his full length record that we did early in my time here. In retrospect, it's like I wasn't that seasoned and confident, but he was somebody that I really liked as a musician. I loved his band. They sounded great when they played live. I was so excited to have them here. We got fucking great sounds. And yeah, when that vocal hit, it was like that was just it for me. It's all the affirmation you need to know you're doing the right thing.
Was it a certain lyric that hit? It was just it just hit right. The tone.
No, I'm not a big lyric guy because most of the time I've been laughing at lines in movies and loving lyrics to songs that I've been mishearing and reinterpreting my own thing. When I give lyrical feedback to people, I want things to be vague enough that the listener can put themselves in it. And, if I had some sort of pain that was, just alerted by even just the tone of the voice, it would do it. I don't have trigger words or things like that. It's like thinking about the feeling is what gets me worked up. It's like I didn't even have to, I can't remember the line. I
Mm.
know I know there was one in particular in that song moment that happened to me. But that's about it, you know? It's mostly the memory of the feeling that, is enough to get me going.
That's
And,
awesome.
there are many others that have done that for me, where I've had to contain, my joy for what I felt was something very, very beautiful happening in front of me. And, geez, every I can't imagine doing anything else that would be that rewarding, you know?
Mhm. Yeah. Some music just hits you, man. You can't explain it. You can't explain it, but it's so special, and it makes life.
I got like Irish cop, genes. I'm not that Irish by percentage, but man, like there's just like a way that music alerts things in me that I cannot control.
Mhm. How do you use that emotion into the record?
Well, I mean, I want that to happen for many other people. So if it's generally honest, I think your chances of doing that for other people go up. I think if you're speaking honestly, if you really believe in what you're saying or what you're feeling, or even how what you're saying makes you feel, then I'm very for that.
Mhm.
I'm looking to create the possibility of someone having a visceral reaction. And there is no formula to that. That is like I mean, that's holy grail stuff. You're talking about like things everybody wishes they could engineer and drum out, but like even your heroes did it maybe a couple times in their 20s or 30s and can't do it anymore. It is it's holy water, It's like you can't formula it's not a formula, you know? But when it happens, you recognize it. When something really great is about to be changed, I violently defend it. Don't change that. Don't. No, that fucking lyric, I don't even care if it doesn't make sense. It sounds so good. I try not to say trust me, but like that, I will sell and defend what I believe is really, really great if it's starting to alert that in me. Um, Sometimes it's defending something that already exists. I don't have to engineer it.
Hmm. I've been there for some of those moments, and I think I tend to be on your side. I don't think there's ever been a moment where I disagreed with you.
Yeah.
I
I,
mean,
you
yeah,
know,
it's those are tough though because like artists are very protective of their work, and
mhm.
then you also being the producer and engineer, you kind of get attached to it, working on it as well. So that has to be a tough thing to dance around, right?
Yeah, yeah, you have to freely be able to disassociate because you don't own it, but you have to actively be able to engage with it as if it's your child, your baby, and that is a very violent, it's like an ice bath and a sauna, jumping in and out of that headspace. Anytime it's your call to act or do something, you have to treat it as if it's your child. And if your ideas are not liked, if they're not worth fighting for, if it is not what you've sort of come to an understanding with the artist as being appropriate or in line with what they want to go for, you kind of have to relinquish that.
Hmm.
Um, because again, they have to love it and they have to believe it's them. They are not going to support and give life to this thing if they don't believe strongly in it. You can't force feed it, So yeah, you do have to disengage.
But has there been a moment where you've fallen in love with the work so much that it almost became like your baby in your mind, and you had to kind of detach yourself from that?
Like, I wasn't forced to detach, I was just like, "Oh, no, it's just time to let go," you know?
No, like, say, in moments where you wanted to have your way with it,
Mm.
you wanted to see and then maybe they didn't agree.
I think, my genuine excitement for things that I do believe really strongly in is usually felt and understood by the artist and humored, you know? I support other people's wanting to try other ideas. I don't shoot people down if it's a possibility, even if it seems really wrong, So that is usually reciprocated, Of course, there are little battles that I've lost, It's not a hill to die on kind of things where it's like, I think I know what would be really cool in the bridge, but you're not going to lose listeners in the bridge. You know, you're not gonna lose a listener because the song is 30 seconds longer, but it's already over 4 minutes. You know, you're not going to I'm not gonna die on those hills. So I'll say my piece, and if I don't think it's absolutely critical, I'll stop with the Italian hands and I'll stop begging and, it's okay.
The Italian hands. Are you 100% Italian though? You said you were a little Irish.
Yeah, it's like 20. I'm 50% Italian.
50. What's the other what are you?
It's a mixed bag. Yeah, it's a very, very small amount of Jewish, probably a good amount of German Irish from my mother's side, and my father's full Italian. Bari.
Pure
So
white.
Southern Italy, so the red hair is on both sides. My mother was strawberry blonde. My father had red hair, but he is olive
Frankie
curly and black. Black hair almost.
Paisano. Well, I'm the same way. I'm half Italian and I got the red going on, man. We could
Yeah,
be related somewhere down the line. Sicily, we got this lot of stuff going on right now.
there's some Viking conquest in you.
Definitely. You just had a kid. Congratulations. How's that?
Thank you. Yeah, it's beautiful. It's yeah, unfathomable, undescribable, and very rewarding, and I love it.
You do love it. That's
Yes.
amazing.
I
Are you
love I love work. I love long hours, and I love not sleeping. Why wouldn't I love having a
I was
child?
gonna say
Yeah.
you already never fucking sleep. So you might as well just add a kid there in that.
I'm convinced it's bad for you. Everything I eat makes me feel terrible, so why wouldn't sleep be bad for me too, you know?
I mean, you're not wrong. Why
Thank
why
you.
what is the you're not gonna answer this, but I hope you do.
Mm.
And don't lie to me. What is your I mean, I could say favorite, that's just bullshit. That's just hard to say. What is your most proud moment? What is your most proud work of art that you worked on? Your most proud song or album?
Nah, yeah, that's too much, man. It's always this one. I got some stuff right now that I just absolutely love. Things that have played on or coached,
Mhm,
and that's always my favorite is the latest.
mhm.
There's new music, this band Nexus Canvas that I'm working with that I think has always been very, very like free of genre definitions and anything typically heard, even in the familiar genres that they fall into. um, I really value that kind of stuff, man. That's my favorite stuff right now that I'm the most excited about. Because it's in progress. It's still molten. It's still coming to life. Like how could it not be the most exciting thing? It hasn't formed and landed yet. And there's so many questions about how it could be received. But you know anything I'm working on, I sent some mixes and masters out. I don't even know if some of these bands have announced themselves because some of them are so new, and I'm very lucky to be working on some of them. But yeah, there's stuff with Sam Rea and Paulie and Dan Leo and Ricky. um they've got a band that is fucking amazing that I just finished up that I'm so in love with. um just like it ticks all the my favorite boxes of like music I grew up on and records that I thought sounded great, just all natural live rhythm section, drums and bass, just great playing, great tones and fucking awesome vocals. And I'm like, yeah, I'm stoked on this. I'm so happy that I finally got to work with these people.
Yeah, so what is your wheelhouse? Like, what do you feel like? Because I know that you've done most genres, and you can easily, hands down. Like anyone who's listening to this right now, Frank could do anything, any genre perfectly, amazing. But what
Mm.
is your what is
Not perfectly, yeah. Like my forte is rough edges,
well? That's
It's
the thing about
me,
music.
man. It's like it's cool if it's a little broken.
Exactly, I agree with you. I think imperfect music is the best. Like the imperfect things in music is what
I
makes it.
believe I believe in like the golden era of records, and that for me is the 1970s and the 1990s. The 80s had fantastic music and songwriting, but a lot of automated things and a lot of like really shitty sounding dat sequenced, digital influenced musicianship where a lot of the humanity got taken out of it. There's still music I love from the 80s, you know, from hair metal to new wave. Like I love tons of it, but like for me, the shit that like really gets me going is the 70s and the 90s.
Sure.
And I mean, I already lost your question. You got to repeat it. I'll
No,
get right back there.
I don't even like it anymore. I want to move on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I want to know like
There was a reason. There was a reason it's gonna bug me. You know, you're asking about
no, your wheelhouse. I want to know like
Wheelhouse. Yeah, yeah, bro. Okay.
what is your favorite
Um,
genre to work on? I
and, you
feel
know,
like
anything that calls back to those things,
yeah.
because that for me will cover, you know, hardcore, grunge, metal, and like flowery, like progressive, you know, Renaissance music or something like that, or you know, stuff that was like really popular. You know, Rush, Zeppelin, Genesis, Alice in Chains, you know, that kind of stuff. You know, everything in that musician-based rock band, organic. Um, Something that could be written by people in a room. That's my forte because I feed off that energy, the interpersonal tensions, the the fact that things can, you know, spring out of obscurity a lot easier than like a machine accident, which, you know, I deal with a lot of technology and a lot of gear. I'm a knob twister too, and really cool stuff happens, but it's usually when one person's doing something, and that can be really uninspiring for everybody else around. So, you know, I try to like keep those moments, you know, for the band. And when I'm working with bands, that to me is my wheelhouse because they're doing a lot of the work. They're being the creative ones. I'm not being like the MPC producer or the, you know, the guy who's doing all the work in post producer.
Mhm. Frank, there's a lot of people out there, a lot of young people out there that want to do this band thing, that want to record. And what is your advice to them if they want to produce? I mean, I'm sure a lot of people now could do stuff on their own, but what is the advantage to going to you, and what advice can you give them, doing, in their process of pursuing this whole world?
People that want to be producers, you mean?
No, I mean, like, just, say if someone wants to record with you, or
Oh,
just get what is your advice for people who wanna come into Voodoo and work with you, and who wanna just I don't know, I mean, there's so many things that, like there's so many kids just, like, strumming on the guitar, like, what is your and they just, like, don't know how to alright, my advice would be go to you, right? My advice would be go to you. What would your advice be? Alright, they're sitting down, there's some young kid. What do you tell them? Like, they have never fucking done this before. Say you see something in them, they have what is your advice to these young people coming up that have never recorded before? They're in the studio. How do you relax these people? What do you say?
okay. So yeah, like an inexperienced person
Yeah.
that, you know, is yeah, very green and in the middle of it for the first time. You know, just find their environment that they play best in. You know, if they're a bedroom person, that's why we have couches and chairs and ISO booths. Like you don't have to be like the wind up doll when it comes to recording and put people in the red light you know, syndrome. You know, I would say, you know, what makes you comfortable, you know, and be yourself. You know, I'm looking for the thing that's weird and different about you, and you know, paying them compliments when they are doing something that seems really natural to them, and then giving them guidance, you know, very selective guidance when I'm trying to correct issues that I think might be a problem. But you know, I adapt my style of recording and my workflow around the client because I am so much a fan of takes and performance that, you know, I have to you know, acquiesce to them. I have to do what's best for them. So you know, it's not about what I tell them, it's about seeing what works for them, you know? And sometimes that's no click track. Sometimes that's just singing the whole song down. Sometimes that's, you know, letting the mistakes happen and then going back later and getting them, not stopping every time there's a mistake. You know, that really disrupts certain people. Some people, you know, stop themselves when they make a mistake and they need to fix everything and go along the way. So you have to be, you know, really attuned to the personality and the inexperience and the insecurity of the person recording music.
Mhm.
It's very much a people skill business, if you want to call it a business.
Frank, I'm like, I don't know how to play I know this part. What do I do? Are you gonna take the guitar from me and do it for me? Help me,
No,
Frank.
no, no.
You're gonna have the patience and sit there and watch me.
Well,
Struggle?
that's where
Like,
basic,
whatever.
basic musical awareness and competency comes from. I know a lot of people that do this that are fantastic musicians and can play most things better than their clients, and that's the case sometimes for me. But I'm not excited to take the guitar or to replay something secretly after. I don't think I've
Sure.
really ever done that, you know?
Yeah.
Um, I think I know enough about the instruments that I work with, how to, how to use a reed instrument or a horn or fret a guitar or, how to hit a snare drum or how to listen to a click track to just guide people, give them one piece of advice at a time, let them play the thing one thing at a time, let it get a little bit better, let them hear it getting better, and then maybe adding in some other advice, or
Right.
letting them try their thing their way, and see it out. But I mean, yeah, if if you're in the studio and you can't play your instrument, it's a
Wait,
very
wait,
expensive,
you
and difficult situation no matter what. You're
yeah,
just
you're
gonna
getting
spend
paid.
time and you know,
Would you
the
ever
only time I'll take the instrument is if I can't, like scat an idea or there's like a very particular articulation that I want someone to maybe try, then I'll do it and record it real quick, but I will always give it back to them and have them do it again. Um,
have you ever recorded something, um, say if a band member there's a band that comes in, they have a shitty bass player. The bass
mm,
player leaves. He thinks he crushed it, right? And the
mhm.
whole band's like, "Nah." Have you ever or like had someone else in the band record their parts or you did it yourself? Have you ever had instances like that?
I've played bass on people's records. They're most of the time not for those really bleak situations, and some of those I've been a part of where like a person has to gracefully bow out because they realize they're not a musician, and then a ringer comes in, or an artist comes in that knows their band isn't good enough, and so they don't bring them along for the record, and they commit to using studio people or friends of ours that we trust. Um, Most of the time it's not somebody crumbling in front of you, but when that happens, you do the best job you can with that person, and if you don't know that player, that person, musician in the band is a weak link before you start, you probably haven't done your homework. You probably don't know that band well enough to be producing them. There's old sayings of like, this will be a great record for you, just not of you, because of how ruthless that was, and how important it was for the record to be great no matter who played on it. um, People did a lot of work in pre-production and knowing the band and the arrangements inside and out before they could call themselves a producer. A producer is not somebody that runs software and, can and play the thing for you. That's
Mhm.
not. You should just be in your own band, you know? A producer is someone that knows the artist well enough to take them into the studio and take them through the process, and if the bass player or whoever it is in the band is a weak link, you should already have a battle plan in your mind for how to record them, make them sound their best. Maybe this will be a record that's going to have more drum samples than you want to. Maybe it's going to be quantized drums. Maybe you need 4 days instead of two to do the drums. That's happened. I've had drummers that have done incredibly complicated music that they were not qualified to play, and it took longer, but they didn't quit on me, and I didn't quit. It's not the most rewarding sonic thing, but it is individual to that band. And if
You
you've
get
made the
get it.
choice to go forward with that person, that's your lot as the producer. That's on you, you know? You don't go into the studio where you're paying time and other people's time and days off from work with someone who's just going to fail and not do what you want. You better be prepared to deal with that in advance.
How are you so patient? Because I know I could be annoying to work with. I know that so many artists can be a pain in the fucking ass.
Well,
How
it was your ghost notes that made me a patient person.
I
It's
did
after I
that, right?
figured out how to do your ghost notes, then I became that's it.
Did I so you're
And the
attributing
grays, you got me the
I
grays too.
actually helped you become a better person by frustration.
I don't know, man.
I'm like, God bless you.
I am an understanding. I
You're
am
so
not like,
man. You're so nice.
immune to being bothered by things. I just have a high threshold for abuse maybe. It takes a lot to put me over, so I've never lost it. So, and if you find yourself getting to that edge where you're going to kind of, you feel like you want to lose it on the client or something like that, or you're no longer pleasant to be around, you have to remember that you are at the very least, a person of service to their musical process, and it's not about you and what you want.
Mm.
It's your job to, make them feel their best so that they can do their best. Being pissy about it is no one wants that. No one wants to be around that.
No, no one, and
No, so I
I've
mean, yeah,
had
patience is giving yourself a longer clock to get what you want or what they want, Be patient, see out the difficult situation, and you know, you'll get more takes, you'll get more time listening, people will calm down and think about it. They'll listen to it and come back. Patience is the rewards.
that. You and it's interesting because I know you've worked with a lot of notable artists, and I feel like you treat everyone the same. And that's also another interesting thing about your studio is that you walk in and you never know who you're gonna meet there.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
was it Billy Reimer, right?
Yeah.
One of the greatest drummers I've ever seen. And I just ran into him, started talking with him in the studio right before I recorded. Sweet, sweet dude.
Yeah, he just
Oh,
stays
it's so
down to earth as a human being. Yeah.
yeah, I admire him, and I feel like everyone that goes to your studio is like has like I think maybe there's something to the law of attraction, right? I feel like you attract good people and like good artists. So that's like, do you feel that way?
I feel like I attract the kind of people that need to work with me, maybe, but I don't think too hard about that. That's pretty lofty.
But
That would be fucking wonderful. Oh,
why do
can
you
I curse? I'm sorry, dude.
yeah, yeah, you can
All
curse all
right,
you want. This is gonna go on Disney, so we have to bleep it, but it'll be all right.
all right. I won't make any Disney
No,
jokes.
no, I'm kidding. Dude, that'd be
The
sick,
whole
bro.
second half, man. Clean slate.
We need to start
Yeah, you know what? Like Voodoo is not, and I've been in like, very commercial studios and, big LA studios and places that have a receptionist and places that have 5 rooms and 6 lounges and that kind of stuff. And that's great. That can humble you and I've had good experiences in those places that, you think are the pinnacle of recording, but most of my favorite records were done in places that were a little grimy. You know, your Sound Cities, or I think hungry people make cool records. I think people that value like their performance make cool records, and you don't need a receptionist to do that.
Mm.
So the priority here is about comfort, the lighting, the softness of the couches, the amount of cats, and the warmth and sonics of the gear and the sound of the room. If you're not a people person, if you're not a record person, you're not going to be comfortable anywhere.
True.
Period. You're going to need a muffin basket and someone kissing your butt to try to get you to stay there. But if you're a musician, you know what a bedroom feels like and you know what a van feels like, and you will be very comfortable here.
That is true. All your couches I've slept on all your couches in
Oh, it's
bed,
the
and
best. It's the
everything's
best.
it's fantastic there. Do you ever wander out of your place and sleep in the studio?
Yeah. Plenty of all-nighters, Deer Hunter Masters,
Mm.
that was a very, very big time crunch, because of vinyls and stuff like that we had to get that done very fast, and, several all-nighters.
Dude, you work with bands that like I've listened to before, like before I even knew you. Like it's insane, bro. Like Taking Back Sunday, Deer Hunter, like Dillinger Escape Plan. We
Oh, dude,
mentioned
lucky lucky to be there.
and that's like, do you ever pinch yourself like you get to work with all these artists? I mean, honestly, they should be pinching themselves for working with you. Don't know shit. But
Nobody
I'm just saying,
nobody feels that way, nobody does.
I really do
Um
feel that way. I'm so grateful for you, dude. I'm so grateful to know you, man, because you're fucking amazing, bro. That's
Likewise, nobody sings my praises like you do, man.
dude, you're
You're
amazing.
you're hired.
You are amazing. And but like, do you ever going back to that question though, like do you like is that like a surreal moment or just like is it like business as usual because you work with so many people?
It becomes business as usual. anytime you're in a room with anybody, they become more of a person. But yeah, you can get super nervous knowing who's gonna come in, but the door's gonna open, and it takes 3 seconds for them to walk in and go, "Oh, that's cool. What's up? Hey, I'm this person. Hi." You're immediately responsible for what they need and what has to get done. Being a professional is what stops you from, having those moments and fanning over people that you, like, grew up listening to maybe, or would otherwise, like, wanna freak out, and ask a ton of questions because you got a job to do, and, people I think that I have worked with that are used to, that level of attention, like the way I treat them, because I want to be treated like a person. I want them to feel like a person and be comfortable. And it's just that reciprocation that settles people.
Mm.
And once that's happened, there is no surreal moment.
Yeah,
But
so yeah,
thinking back, yeah, every year, every day, I think back, and I do feel very lucky, for who I've been in the room with.
it's harder when you're older and you're very experienced. Like, I was just thinking about this last night, how, like, as you get older, you know more and you have more experiences. You have more of a, I want to say, like, lackluster, or like kind of like the things that wowed you as a kid, they don't as much, right? And there's a part of me that's like, there's freedom in that, right? Like, you could
Mm.
see someone walk into your studio, shake their hand, crank out a sick record, but there's also that level of, like, I kind of miss that. Like, I kind of miss that, like, allure to, like, that, oh my god, like, you look up to that. Do you ever think of that? Like, you just
Meet your heroes kind of thing.
yeah, or just like, do you ever think about the fact that as we get older,
Yeah, yeah.
you don't get that anymore. Like, you're in
Spoiled
this
and jaded and all that kind of stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, there was like a something sacrosanct about a record, you call it, or recording, that once I dove into manipulating sound and trying to record it, that it was ruined for me, because I instantly got those ears that heard parts instead of wholes. And it's like William Blake, Innocence Lost. Like, you're constantly trying to get back to that thing. You will never ever reclaim the innocence of hearing things for the first time, or hearing things without knowledge or experience. Um, so it's all a constant effort.
Dude, you're such a
Like
stoic. I
anything
love
else.
it. I love it. I'm just so, like, I'm so too sensitive, man. I'm like, I try to move away from the past, but just brings me back in. And you're just like, yeah, you know what? It'll never be like the first time. You just gotta move on. I love that.
Yeah.
Why? Why? How do I be like that? You're
It's
so
comforting. It's comforting to know that there's some things that are impossible, and that you'll just fail at, because you don't have to be successful. You don't have to do that thing again. That's for the listener. That's why the listener is so sacred. That's why people that listen and love music, that don't try to make it or play it, are some of the most valuable people, because they're people living their lives and only feeling music, not trying to be the person on stage. I value that person most. And that's what I try to gear my records towards. How do people that don't care about what an 808 is, or what compression or side chaining is, how do those people feel about music, when the most important thing in their life is their child, or their job, or making their, rent or mortgage payments, or, like, wanting a nicer car, whatever the person that doesn't make music is focused on. Like, what are they going to feel when they listen to this? you know
mm.
because people like me that make records and engineer, um we're just turning our nose at people who don't do things the way we want to do them. You're missing the forest for the trees.
Frank, have you ever gotten into a fight in the studio at fist fight?
I've had to stop fist fights, and I've had to take arm. But not in this studio.
Frank, you've said it all, man. You are incredible. One thing I really wanted to touch on before we go here is, like, you. There's a lot of gearheads out there. Are you able to, like, kind of take me through some of your gear?
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be
Yeah.
sick.
I love it. You want me to, like, disengage this thing and
Yeah,
and
sure.
and
Yeah,
piano?
yeah. Let's do it raw. We're doing it live. Fuck it, we're doing it live.
Yeah. I made that O'Reilly reference and
Nice
nobody
touch,
laughed.
dude. No
Okay.
one,
So
dude.
quick panorama of the booth. Everything is backwards, and we can see. Damn, I'm just in the way as usual. Some
You
gear
can't flip
here.
it around or no? You
What's
can't.
up?
You can't flip it, right?
Oh yeah, sure. But then I won't get to see me.
That's true.
Oh fudge.
That looks good.
Okay, so yeah, the live room lit in purple as a starting point. There's a modular console. There's a modular console at VuDu, which just means that every single piece in here is handpicked and is wired through the patch bay and is available at all times. Nothing is normal or dedicated to anything, so you can use anything to record or mix with at any point. And the faders are also modular and talk to Pro Tools, our main recording software. Totally and completely. So there's soft commands and then basic mixing, um, and then the toys. We got guitars and amps everywhere, pedals, keyboards. I need to be surrounded by at least four Marshalls at all times, or I just don't feel right.
This is
And just this is my cubicle. Some of the favorite pedals and stuff. Shout out to David Medina, Sonny Bronco, for making that cool ass rug because we did not have a DS1 and now we got one.
Thank you, David. Hey, David, we need
Shout out to
sponsors.
Mike Sadis, Atomic Life, for that beautiful Sun Alpha 4, which is currently being used on any gross bass or distorted vocals. Um,
Ooh,
got a nice space echo, and of course Uma, the theremin. It's a nice little piece from Zoom there. They're cool enough to give me. That's been my outboard IR.
oh, shout out to Zoom too because
Yeah.
they've helped us out a lot too. We use their labs or lavs for our live episodes at venues.
Hell yeah, yeah. Freaking great team there. James, Eric, the booth.
Vocal
Yeah,
booth.
through the glass. This is not a proper studio tour by any means, but this is where the vast majority of the gear and half the studio is. There's a second studio that has an SSL console that is primarily a mixed studio, but also, you know, a reverse scale of this studio in terms of tracking. So it's got one of everything and 48 on the other side. So it does all the mixing
I
and
love
stuff.
this. I love the tour of the control room, and that was totally. I didn't warn you at all, and I'm sorry for that.
No, it's fine, man.
We just
I,
went for it.
I still,
I I love that. I I
great. Yeah.
I don't even know what to say with all of the things that you've given me, all the information. You're insane. You're beautiful. You are like a mad scientist in a way, and I feel like your silence is also like your stoicness. You're like a silent killer. I feel like no one should ever fuck with you, and it's beautiful. Everyone needs to see Frank at VuDu Studios. Frank, we're gonna do this again eventually.
Wrapping up, man.
Well,
No.
well, you know what it is. I don't. I know you're a dad, and you're a busy man.
Well, there's things to do, man. It's always sad to say goodbye. You know,
It's sad to say
you gotta
goodbye.
got that empty nest, man, at the end of every recording. So it's just
Who did you
wrap it
work
up
with?
again.
Who did you
Make
work
me
with today?
relive the pain. Today we finished Kelly Baker's record. I finished mixes for a live record that I'm working on, and some other mastering. Um, yeah, do you want to name artists or
Yeah.
just highlight the work? I have to look at the folder.
You know what I love that you and Mike did?
What's
The
that?
remix and remaster of that Hopefall record. Was it Satellite Years? Satellite
Yeah.
Years.
Yep.
That is, it made it like I don't like when bands do that. By the way, I don't like when
Mm.
bands like read because I'm like the original is perfect and it has that vibe, but this is the one like literally the only. And I'm not saying this because I'm friends with you. Like this is the only one that I actually think it's better than the original.
Mm.
Like when I listen to that now when I work out or run or go for a walk, I listen to that version, the 2.0.
Yeah. Yeah, Mike agonized over those mixes and worked really hard not to overmix, in terms of like trying to make everything super slick or what we think people want to hear. We understood that that record was already very important for the band and that people loved the music there and that there was going to be a great attention to, the whole of it and not like someone looking for a snare sound. So, we kept it very real and very true to the tapes, the literal tape that it was on,
It
and
was on
credit
tape?
to yeah, yeah, came
How
off
d
tape.
how did you get all those how did you guys do that? Like, how was that? Take me through that
Oh,
process.
oh, it's sound, man, just try the tapes had to be baked. They were stored, well enough that the information was intact.
What does that mean, baked?
Baking is a process that sort of helps the tape not come apart when it's played. It was something we did and hired out for, so we didn't do it ourselves. We trusted a tape studio nearby. And Mike went with the band. There's a little bit of like a video recap of that somewhere. I think there's some content that was filmed. It might have been done by Tom, who was a huge Hopefall fan too, and lent us a very helpful ear as a great fan of the band
Tom
to make
Flynn?
sure that was also, being done along the way. And by the time I got it, it was, about not messing it up. So a lot of the mastering I do, you have to take into account that people have already signed off on something and really love it. So, don't try to make it you and don't try to overdo it. Let it be the record that it is and just help it sound as good as it can. Um, but yeah, once it was off tape, it was on the console through Pro Tools and mastered hybrid, which I do in here as well, with select outboard, uh, usually passing through the Burl converters, but that record might not have passed through the Burl converters because there was already a great amount of warmth from the tape, and I didn't want to oversaturate it or squish it down too much. That's usually something that's done to things that are like mixed in the computer by other people, and um, and it needs a little bit of depth and warmth. That record was, just solid when I got my hands on it.
Y
Um,
you what was your role in that remaster?
Remastering, I'm the mastering engineer on that. I got finalized mixes from Mike that are approved by the band, you know, and in most instances that's a raw mix and a limited mix. The limited is what the band approves of and is sort of a pre-master, so that it's, relevant in volume and rough volume to, anything commercial, so people can have a really good idea of how it's going to translate. And then my master is, based off the raw mix, but essentially recreating that limit, with any small changes possibly in mind, and creating, cohesion among the tracks so that it plays like a record. And I listen to the original record a lot for transitions and interlude tracks and little details and stuff like that, so that it flowed like a record and that nothing, you know that I did made it jump out or seem disjointed. That's they're an immersive band. The lyrics, the vocal textures, the riffs, and the
Jeez.
leads, they are underappreciated, but for the people that do know them, they understand, which is a wonderful thing for a band when your fans really know what it is that you do well and can appreciate it. You're not just like a breakdown band or something. They are a melodic and an interesting textured band of great musicians. So, you know,
It's such a
it's great to treat it like a record.
it's such like a interesting, like, kind of smaller niche of, like, music that happened in such a blip of time. I mean, it's still alive, but it's not the same as it was, and it's oh, sorry, I just had a message, and it was someone asking me if I could hear myself. Of course I can.
I can hear you.
You could hear me? But yeah,
Yeah.
that blip of time, it was like for people who know Hope's Fall, that's one of those bands that meant something to people. It wasn't just like a person you put on a mixtape at the time or a mix CD or now playlist. It's like that's a band that you listen to the whole album front to back over and
Mhm.
over again.
Yeah.
It meant so much to me. Like,
Mhm.
that's one of those albums that I listened to when I needed something, like, just to, like, escape and go somewhere special.
Mhm.
That is one of those albums, and I just like would listen to every detail. As a drummer, I would listen to the drummer's accenting. He was a very like he didn't play very
Adam.
like yeah, Adam didn't play like so technical, but like his feel is so good.
Mhm. Yeah, people throw out the word "feel" all the time, but he is definitely a drummer that has a very identifiable feel, and, like, hearing those fills, it's like, "That's him," you know? It's such a
Yeah,
cool thing when you can catch somebody's thing, and, getting to do a record with him too, Arbiter, which I'm very, very proud of. A lot of people, also like that record, which was a long lapse in time, since their previous work, and I think those songs and the playing on that record is fucking phenomenal too, getting Adam Morgan in that room on that Ludwig kit, playing the way he does, and having Josh's just absolute huge sounding riffs through a tube amp roaring, that's my pick, profile pick is getting to be in that record, which I loved every minute of. And then obviously, Jay's like insanely clever and deep lyrics and melodic textures, and it's like, oh my god, there is like 10 songs worth of great stuff, that most people would kill to have a little bit of that essence. So that, yeah, I like music that's deep, that's got a lot going on.
yeah. Like I put them in like the same box of time
Yeah.
and music as like Misery Signals.
Yeah, for sure.
That was like where there's like that melody that affects your heart differently, like that musical heart, and then but then there's that aggression that like makes you want to run through a wall.
Yeah, and I think it's a blessing of the time that you come up to, where I don't want to get too like scholarly about it, but like the time music comes up, it's going to influence. Like they listen to 80s and 90s bands. They love, Hum, obviously, Matt Talbot, I believe, like produced that record originally, and like they were huge fans of that. And still, we shared so much music, when they were here, and it's all melodic stuff.
Yeah.
So that stuff is it's gonna creep its way into your creativity, but then also being part of that, like you're saying, that time period where aggressive music was taking off, and you had screaming and yelling and those vocal textures of proliferating in music. It's gonna be there, and it's gonna feel honest, where now I catch bands doing things because so many bands have been so heavy and they want to be a screaming band. And then they're worried that people aren't going to like them. So they phone in sort of like a melodic chorus. Like, this is what people want. No, people do not want what you think they want. They want to hear something new, whether they know it or not. Because something new will make them feel something. Be influenced by your influences. Don't be ashamed of them. That's the only thing that you're going to sound like, is your interpretation and your human experience and your influences. That's it. Nothing else can come out and not be contrived. And they were a very genuine band, and they loved their community of music, and they respect their peers, and they're still close with them. You know,
Was that the best era of like hardcore metal melodic hard like that from I don't know what 99 to 2010 to
Modern Ashes and stuff like that,
yeah,
and
right.
yeah.
There was something different, and maybe I'm just speaking like maybe it's just like you hear when you hear older people, it's like, oh, that was the best. Maybe I'm doing that a little bit,
Mm,
but I don't know. I think having gone through, still in heavy music now, and I think I just appreciate that time because it was a little bit more raw and honestly, and I think
yeah.
I know you could appreciate this. The sound of records now are it's like too produced.
Yeah, well, the one thing I'll say to that is like the really easy way to tell if something is fringe or good or new is how good it sounds sonically. If you can catch wind that somebody really produced it well, then someone has had enough experience producing to make that genre of music sound good, and it's probably not that new. You know what I mean? If it's the archetype of something totally new, obviously, but yeah, people didn't know how to make those records yet.
I'm gonna give you my favorite sounding album and an album that moves me, but it's not even I don't think it's the best quality. It's not
Does not?
overproduced,
Yeah.
but I'm gonna give you mine, and then I want you to think about yours as I'm giving you mine. Okay. Mine is brand new, The Devil and God.
Mhm.
There's like, the drum sound like it was recorded in a big space, like not
Mhm.
really like I don't even it doesn't sound like there's any sound replacement. I
Mhm.
I think it's just like this and it just hits. I think it's so hard to capture a live feel and energy in a record. And I feel like they did it. They did it perfectly beyond anything I've ever heard in that time. You go.
Yeah, I love that record too. I love, the dark turn it took from the previous record, which like I live in the apartment of the guy that produced the record before, Deja and Tendu, and I love those songs and I love the way they sound and I knew them growing up. The music and both of those records are sort of sister records to me that they're both very important although they have very different colors. Devil and God was one like when I was first starting that I would put on as a mixed reference, because I thought it sounded really good at the time. Um, it's I think a Rich Costi mix, if I'm not mistaken. He's fucking great. He's in the world of records that we are in, he is top tier, between Mars Volta and, things of that nature. And Muse, my favorite sounding Muse record, that's him. Um, so yeah, it's done by great people. I think it's Mike Sapone that produced it, Devil and God. And there's a lot of things about it that I think are wrong.
Yeah.
And that,
Yeah.
that makes me think about what's possible. It's like, well, why is the hi-hat panned there? I would never do that, and then you just find it to work. My favorite brand new record actually is the singles or demos, 3 demos reworked or something like that. I think it's called, and they're very of the Devil and God flavor. They were definitely written around that time. All 3 of those songs, oh,
That's
they cut into me.
no, that's a deep cut. That's a deep
Yeah,
cut right there, Frank. I love
yeah,
that. You know what one of my favorites, and this is no joke. I mean, I don't I it might have been before you worked at VuDu, but the that As Cities Burn
yeah.
record,
That's before me.
um Son, I Loved You at Your Darkest. It's
Hmm.
that album I listened to so many times.
Yeah.
Did that want to make you work at VuDu?
No.
That album. What
Nope.
was
No,
it?
I completely missed that that record. That was just not a part of my musical experience. But I got to meet Colin. He's a great dude. And still works in the music industry in a different sector. So he was somebody I ran into at some point. It's a record I listen to and love and respect, and Mike is it's still very very looked up to for that because it's a fantastic record. It just wasn't in my rotation of records that people had passed on to me or that I discovered naturally. That one particularly wasn't. You know, I was aware of Brand New, and I was aware of Steve Hagler's work and some of the things that he had done when I had initially sought out Voodoo, but it wasn't the discography here. I didn't sort of like clamber up the ladder. Some people have been through here that really loved and respected the work that was done here and deliberately came here to be a part of that. I was lucky enough to know somebody. The engineer here at the time, Tom Happel, was still my very good friend. He was from Electric Lady and then came through another studio where my band was working, and then he wound up here and had rooted himself and earned the position as the head engineer and done great work. And he kindly brought me in, and it was just that opportunity. That's it. Just a chance to be in a studio where I knew people were really serious. And look, I took 2 steps in that live room and I heard the sound of the room and I felt it, and I heard the way the mixes sounded coming in here. I spent very little time here before I realized very quickly that it was a place where records were made and where musicians played and where everything wouldn't be the same. And that was very important to me because I came from a home studio where I was trying desperately to acquire gear and to do things the way I thought they should be done, but didn't have the experience of people who had done exactly that. Um, So, having the opportunity of experienced pros, respected producers like Mike, experienced engineers like Tom, and then Tom Flynn also, who's now like the videographer extraordinaire, was also an engineer. He was also in bands playing with me, when I was still in bands. We played a lot of shows together, and like they're just people that I ran into that gave me this opportunity.
Tom Flynn is crushing it too, man.
So,
He's doing amazing things. I love it. I love seeing friends like just excel. I love whenever I see you doing incredible things. And I think one of my favorite things that I've heard out of from you working on is the stuff that you did with Covet is
mhm.
I think it this is gonna sound like an insult, so maybe I should yeah, I'll just say
Oh, yeah. Let it sound how it's gonna sound. That should
I should just say it.
Yeah.
Okay, I feel like how you recorded Covet is even better than them live, and they're great live.
Mhm.
But I think you did it. You nailed it. Like you nailed that energy.
Mm.
It's fucking like how is that?
Good.
How was that process working with them?
I love trios, man. I love because the efficiency of part is just it's necessary. No one could be boring. No one can overstep without it being very obvious. So it was a musical unit of fantastic drum and bass parts wrapped around incredibly unique and like just genre defining guitar playing. She
Oh,
is
by the way, that was
Yvette
a
Young,
very
just obviously like the same way that people that not that she did, but people that sort of come up in a bit of isolation that aren't overly corrupted by listening to like quote guitar music like I was. When I played guitar, nobody cared about instrumental guitar music. And that is not that long ago. Not that long ago. People like her who took an incredibly original and personal approach to writing guitar and doing things wrong did so much more for guitar music than anybody with super accurate picking and shred capabilities has done, and they've been trying to do it for a really long time. you know because she uses her voice on the instrument, because she uses her own musical experience and absolute competition level piano skills, by the way, like unbelievable pianist, and applies that to guitar in a totally new way. You got all of these phrasings that were incredibly vocal and unique, and all they needed was to be captured the right way. We got to spend a lot of time on tones on all the records, and just make sure it was supporting the parts. Everybody knew, how to write what was best, and the focus was really easy to find in each song. So, in a lot of ways, it's very easy.
what was
You
your
know,
working chemistry like with Yvette?
I loved it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Capturing guitar performances like vocal performances, and not like no DIs, no quantizing. You know, I, if anything was not played all the way through, it's the way a vocal would be put together to me, where it's seamless. I think we spent more time on finding tones and being excited about them, and playing things that felt good to know they were right.
Is it hard not to like is it hard not to fall in love with someone like that? Like, hear me out. Let me explain myself because I think there's like she's obviously objectively attractive, but when you see someone excel at something, it makes them like otherworldly. Is it hard to like not like to keep that separate? You know what I'm saying? Like to not want to know her more, like
Well, I
emotionally.
mean, yeah, she's got to battle, being a woman in music, and that's not easy for any of them. So
I'm not even talking like,
all that aside, yeah, I'm just, you know, captivated by people's playing. I think maybe just a little bit more.
but don't you
When
feel?
people are so good that they're going to make your job easier, like you just can't help but not care more about that.
I'm
I'm
just like
sorry.
I think it's just me though. Like I feel like I am a sucker for a woman who could play an instrument really well or sing really well. Like in general,
I thought I might be, but it's not. It was about the work at hand. I just think that
yeah, you're a pro. I know that.
I knew that they had like a buzz about them. I knew that people that I respected had knew about them, and they were obviously on the verge of being signed right when they came to us, and that kind of all happened at once, you know. So there was pressure to do a good job. You don't allow those things to sort of corrupt.
Yeah, no, no.
I mean, I have all of the same impulses as anybody else, but I just I can't help but take this very, very seriously. It's there's a lot of weight on me, and having been through those situations with bands like that has given me confidence, maybe to know that I can focus and get through anything. But there was just so much, I think, pressure to represent the artist the right way, on their debut release, you know
Huge.
that and I still love the way that record sounds. I think the mix is great. I think the band sounds like the band, and I think people appreciate it for what it is. It's really, really original music, and it's people playing. That I know will be timeless. I'm going to be ugly in 10 years, man. So
Never.
whether or not I was cute when I made that record is going to be freaking irrelevant.
Dude, you're so
Um,
have you ever caught feelings in the studio? You don't have to say with
no,
who, like never.
no, it's not.
It's such a
There's
hear
not
me, like,
there's not room for me for
you're a
that.
great politician, Frank, because I'll say this, it's like dancing, dude. If you're dancing with like any kind of artwork, you're working I'm not talking about anyone. I'm just saying, like, if you're working with someone so intimately on such an intimate dude, music is like it's here, bro. I'm
Yeah.
talking like I'm not talking sex, man. I'm talking like this deep shit. When you're
Yeah, it's
creating
it's
something,
your heart, baby. Yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
like I feel like I would have a hard time. Um, but that's just me because I'm also a hopeless romantic. And
Yeah, well, I mean, everybody has their romantic language, and music is not that for me. I don't fall in love with like female singers and stuff like that. I've got a girl that I love, but all that aside, um,
what is so she's not like so you I get it. So like
but
your
yeah, she's
girl
not a musician. I love
probably
my
amazing,
girl,
right?
and she is somebody that inspires me to love music as a listener because she loves music as a listener. She has an encyclopedic knowledge of music, and things that you would learn from liner notes, maybe not about engineering and things like that, but did you know this song was about that, and this person wrote this in the car, or like that kind of thing. And it's just that's how we bonded, over listening to music as listeners and loving it. Making music doesn't make me get romantic with people. It makes it gives me an imperative to do a good job. I'm in love with the music. Like that sounds really, you got to go back and get rid of that. But that's the thing, like, I'm trying to fall in love with the music. Like, I can't be distracted by anything else. That I would feel so irresponsible if I ever did sort of like start getting that. you know it's
How
it's not it's not the goal.
I love seeing you in love. How did that happen?
It surprises you, like all good things, they surprise you.
Just came out of nowhere
Yeah.
and socked you in the face.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, you have to become a better person for love, and you have to you know
How do you handle that? Your job is so like takes you away. How do you handle that? And does
I
she
I
makes
like I would not say I'm not a genuine person when I'm here, but like we were talking about, that dissociating like muscle that you have for being attached to ideas, that I like detaching from music and having a home life and having someone I love, for not being an engineer or virtuoso or something like that. Family is very important to me. I have a very, very broken like family upbringing, but it was a very close family. So that to me is still sacred. Whoever you come home to, that that means a lot to me. So I like to come home to somebody, and I like to have somebody that you know appreciates who I am and not for what I do. It's actually really cool. She got me this mug that's like I'm in the studio and it's like a guy making beats, and like I don't make beats. I don't sit at like I don't sit at a sequencer. I can do it. I've done it. I do keyboard stuff and have written and do production stuff. Like I actually had a lot of fun doing the production stuff for Jug Handle, for Davey and those guys. And Shadow Jug Handle. Um, like that was a lot of like post production, sort of like string and synth and drops, and that stuff is so much fun. But it's not what I do most of the time. Most of the time I'm at a mixer, levels and gain and EQ and stuff like that, and guitar pedals. You know, but she doesn't understand what I do, and I think that's so freaking awesome. I don't want her to.
I was gonna say, but that and it's probably really freeing that she's not in your world. Actually,
Totally. Yeah.
I
And
think
I
that's
I I really like I respect, I know people that, like, their significant other is their musical partner and stuff, and I've witnessed such beautiful relationships like that people have, and, it's just not for me, or didn't work out that way, and, it's not necessary to have everything in common with your significant other, I don't think. I think you have to have some other kinda human connection, but, you know
yeah. I think it's interesting because there's like kind of power behind that mixing board, and there's like this, and I think it says a lot about you that there's like this not like for someone like me
He's
when I
talking he's
was
talking about you, he's talking about you. Shh.
there's there's something about me, like, when I was younger, it was more of, like, an ego thing, like, if I were in your shoes, it would behoove me to try to date the hottest, baddest chick in the industry, like, the singer who's, like, killing it because that would just bring me more clout, but you're like, "No, no, I just want peace and love." Like, that's sick. That's or is that just, like that's just a testament to, like, your
Maybe I would do better if I dressed like a producer, or the producer I call them. The people with the haircut that's like so freaking over the top that like I am just bleeding musical creativity. Like, give me a fucking break, dude. I think music production is a blue collar job. It is thankless at times. Unless you are the top 1%, you're not making a lot of money doing it. You're not. Even people who are writing and producing records that are immensely popular, like for each song they do, I don't think there's a ton of money in it that you're like, you know, living in the lap of luxury. Not from that one artist. I think every big producer is a mixer, whoever is diversified.
this is
Maybe
why
they're
you
lucky
fit
to
your
have had
expertise.
like royalties, but like, yeah,
Yes.
like what
Yeah.
royalty is like if you've got 10 10 of the top playing, songs on Spotify that have what that would be like in maybe the tens of millions of plays. What do you think that royalty is? That ain't nothing, man. That's nothing. They're robbing blind from everybody. So like you're not making enough
Insane, dude.
money as a producer to be that ridiculous.
Crazy.
If people can't understand your musical taste when they're in a room with you, like it's not your outfit that's going to do it. So, and like I don't have a lot of jingly chains and
Yeah.
like lines cut in my head. It's just
That's like this is why I think you fit so well with this show because like you're doing what the artists are doing. Like when I was younger, I thought everyone just made money and that is doing what you're doing or touring. It's hard. Like this show wants people to understand that it's a grind and it's hard and like there's so much love and heart that's put into it. We need to
yeah.
see it. We need to understand it because, like, I think it's really special to be a part of it too. And I hope that the show's like it helps people feel like they're there and then they're a part of it. I would love to maybe do something where we can get into studio with you maybe at some point or do if the band allows, maybe figure that out. Maybe do like a studio session for like an hour or something. That would be cool just to like see how you work, to see what you do. I mean, if you're interested ever, but like you're that
Have to be candid, even the interns, we're very open about having interns in the studio who can actually observe the sessions, but it's sort of like the Heisenberg, we don't want to influence the process. So, candid fly on the wall kind of thing is always best, but I'm totally open to that, obviously, artist
yeah.
makes
Yeah, we'll work on that, but I think it could be a cool concept. I think it'd be really interesting because I think you deserve I think your name needs to be out there more because you've done huge things and you've affected me. I mean, I could get emotional talking about you, man. You just working,
I'm paying for ads, man. Where's it's not
dude.
bad.
Working with you is such a pleasure, man. And everyone that I've worked with, I've been in multiple projects with, say the same thing about you. You are so patient. Working with you makes me feel like I'm not even working. Like it's just a great fun time.
This
And
is it's fun for me, man. I love it. I do
yeah,
love every minute of it.
I admire you. I look up to you like as a musician, and I think you are the best. You're the best out there, man. And it's like I don't know. I just think it's like it's such an interesting art form to do that. And it is weird where it's like, all right, how do you so where does the money come from? Then you have to do projects that you don't like, right?
No, no.
No.
I can count on one hand, like, the projects I've done where I actually thought about the money, and I really mean that. Like, there's a couple of things that I've done that I was really like, I really have no interest in doing this. I'm just at service of the client. But, there's pride in that. There's always silver lining. There's always something to learn from a session. I wanna learn something or get better every single time. So it's never about the money. It's like, well, this is an opportunity to test out this mic technique that I wanted to. This is an opportunity to experiment with doing it this way, So there's always something to get excited about. If you can't find excitement, you are the wrong person for music, This is a fiercely competitive, you know, lane for people that have an absolute necessity to be creative at all times, and they will push you out of the way if you are not creative. If you can't get excited, goodbye. If you can't get excited to be here, you're not going to do it. Sorry. It's not about the money. Money comes. I have other things that I've been lucky enough to do. And like I said, like even big producers, everybody's varied, So I've spent the last couple years actually developing, a sample pack of drum sounds that I'm insanely proud of, that I would never have been able to have done even earlier on, because I think that the gear and the listening environment and everything that's sort of come together has built to producing sounds that I could be really proud of, and know that when people listen to them, they're really gonna like understand the value of the room and how it actually influences and takes a record up to the next level. So money comes from that and other things, and at the end of the day, I'm lucky that what I do can keep me fed. If it's not a ton of money, it's at least enough.
Yeah.
I don't ever have to think about the money.
But is there one band that is massive that you would love to work with?
Oh yeah, there's tons of bands that I love, and I can, you
What's your
know.
dream band? Just one album that you want to just
Oh, you never say your dreams out loud, man.
what?
You
That's
write
part
them
of
down.
dude. That's
Yeah,
called manifesting,
I,
manifestation.
I I think I think energy and focus withheld is also very powerful.
Let me ask you this: Who is your what's your favorite artist?
My favorite artist of all time.
What's your favorite band? Artist, band.
And well, I've already mentioned. I mean, Pink Floyd was the one that did it for
What's
me
your favorite?
first.
What's your favorite band that's doing stuff right now,
Well,
Frank?
David Gilmour just toured. What do you mean doing stuff right now? Yeah, not in legacy phase or not doing
Yeah,
fan service. Oh, shoot, man. I mean, there's.
younger,
I
not
mean, I think. Listen, I could just like. I mean, I love everything Thomas Iraq does. I love. I think Night Versus is great. I think Erika Prada is a fantastic drummer, and I got to work with like a lot of drummers of that caliber, and it's like it still boggles my mind what some of these guys are doing. That you know
insane.
like, how can I not ever like, yeah, that would be freaking awesome. There's too many great bands. I mean, I love Pine Grove. I love what they got away with and the way that they make their records. That like, again, it's something that I would look at as an engineer and be like, that sounds like it's 6 feet away from the microphone. It's so live. Like, that's not right. You're never gonna get it to sound this way. And it fucking just eats me up. Like when I listen to it, it's so good.
Yes, you got the passion, you have the talent, you have the ear. You're gonna
We
get
got the tools, we got the talent.
talent.
I love this town.
No one steps on a church in my town. Oh,
I have seen shit that will turn you white. Winston is the best Ghostbuster, by the way, if you ever had any doubt, and probably also like Ernie Hudson, just in general.
I
He's a
think
good actor.
I think Ernie Hudson is amazing. He's
Yeah.
fantastic. I'm dying to run into one of these guys in the city, man, because I want to show them my Ghostbusters tattoo on my calf.
Wait, would you have the ghost?
I have Slimer.
The logo? Oh,
Uh,
Slimer.
yeah,
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
in the circle.
Oh, Bill Murray was pretty much like my hero growing up, you
Same,
know? He was
same.
in every movie in the '90s and was
Yeah.
just, yeah.
If
So
I met Bill Murray, I would probably have a tough time like collecting my thoughts and my emotions. Like that dude meant a lot to me. I don't know how like he is in real life. They say never to meet your heroes, right? But
yeah,
that dude is incredible. And I see him on show. I just saw him on some podcast, and he was just like they were talking about. It was the two brothers, the Kelsey brothers. They just
mhm.
interviewed Bill freaking Murray. First of all, I was a little jealous. Not that I deserve that, but I'm just saying, like, it's just like, wow, no one deserves to talk to Bill. No one. Maybe Howard Stern, and that's it. I don't. Howard, only Howard, and the Kelsey
It's
brothers.
a good interview, yeah, for sure.
Howard Stern is the best, will be the best of all time. Howard Stern is my absolute hero. I freaking love Howard. Howard is the best, but he deserves to talk to Bill again. I know we talked to him many, many moons ago briefly, but like Bill is one of those guys who has so many crazy tales that I want verified. And that,
Yeah, right.
and they talked about something, I forgot what it was, and it was hilarious. Um, it was about, I think it was something where he would call this guy up every time he saw his wife on a commercial with another man. It was like a really intense wife. He was
Yeah,
like,
I
"Hey,
think I think I heard that story.
I'm what you saw that?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah." And he did verify it, but he's just like a
Yeah, yeah.
crazy dude.
Yep.
What a
Yeah,
wild.
that's like, it's reminiscent of the rock star era, right? In bands where you wish that these people were of an untouchable nature because you can look up to them so much, you know?
Yeah.
Kind of want that for musicians again, you know? But
Yes.
you take the good and the bad at the same time, you know? People who live in that level of fame for so long are rarely, immaculate.
Yeah.
But still, I love them for their work, and I love, hearing those stories. So it's double edged.
What happened to the rock star? What happened to like I don't think musicians are revered anymore, or like like it's not cool. Like it's so weird.
No, it's definitely cool again,
Is it? Is it?
it's definitely appreciated. Yeah, like I talked about guitar music, and look at how many people play music on Instagram. Like the format has changed, but people appreciate musicianship, and we've also been through the looking glass so that we know what's capable of like being fake. We know, oh, that's sped up or that's edited or that sort of thing. So people have ears and eyes for that more than ever, and have an appreciation for people that can play. It just doesn't take place inside the record as much. You can look at somebody and be entertained for 20 seconds, and be more interested in that than hearing a record with a person playing on it and being of the same mind. So it's different with musicians, but that's totally separate from being a rock star. Some people that are rock stars have absolutely not a musical bone in their body. And they're just good at captivating people, or maybe they have a presence, or have been blessed with some melodies from wherever they come from for a few years, and
Mhm.
you know
Liberty Twitcher says that it never existed. Rockstar was always a myth. Social media took away the mystique, and I actually kind of agree. That's an interesting take.
well, yeah, it's a perspective, but you can't ignore the dynamic of musicians that now play into social media, and allow, and you know s- sort of work with the idea that you should be approachable at every angle and everything is exposed. That certainly was not true. People went to great lengths, and there are still artists, they're mostly people from maybe like the 70s or something like that, that you can't meet them when they come to play a venue. They're very, very isolated and protected, and they don't want to talk to anybody, and they don't care about responding to everybody in a comment. And we have to understand that artists have agreed to that, and agreed to the idea that you have to be approachable. And whether or not it was because of social media or because of something else, that is now the dynamic that a lot of people feel. I kind of grew up with like, man, this band is so cool, they're not even in their music videos. I liked that mystery. I thought that was captivating. I thought that, the air of mystery around an artist made them removed from a regular human. And when you show everybody every second of every day, it's like cursing in every sentence. It loses its value.
Yes. Yes.
It's
That's what I'm kind of talking about. Like, I feel like when the MTV Music Awards were going on, like, everyone paid attention, and then and I'm gonna mention Howard again 'cause I'm a fanboy, but it's like he showed up as Fart Man, and everyone heard about it.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh my
like,
god, I hadn't thought about that in a long time. Yeah.
it's like you saw his bare ass and everything. It was just ridiculous. But that was such a fun era of music where it was
Yeah.
like, s
You know
rock.
what? If people weren't chasing an algorithm, they would not be fighting so hard to appear a certain way in a comment section or reply to people the way they are. If someone genuinely comes up to you and pays you a compliment in person, you're going to respond based on the person that you are. But everything online is, it's forced to be fake because it's under scrutiny. It's now public record. Everything that you write and post, you know? Can be screenshot, saved, commented, quoted. How does that not influence who you are and how genuine you are as a person? You are playing into it. So it's very, very difficult.
Yeah,
I,
and
I, I don't I don't think we would see that level if social media was not a component.
for sure. That's true, that's true. And I think of, like, magazines that have gone under, like, what the hell is it called? The Rock magazine.
Oh, rock music, yeah.
No, what is it called? The freaking, that one massive rock and roll magazine. This is terrible. Anyway,
You're talking about Rolling Stone,
Rolling
that
Stone,
calendar?
dude.
Oh,
Yeah,
I fell out of favor with it, right? It's just stopped being about music so long ago, like the MTV of print.
yeah,
Because
that's true. But I'm saying, like, that was, like, a cool era in music too, whereas, like, people actually bought print and, like, cared about
yeah, I used to buy Rolling Stone and Spin and all that stuff. Guitar World is a big one, and Guitar
what
Magazine,
was
and
Circus and Cream?
I don't know,
Hippity Twitcher. I'm is that
Circus or Circle of what?
Circus and Cream?
Circus and Cream?
Oh, 70s rock mags.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Oh, I gotta check those out.
Music rags.
I, yeah, I guess I missed the allure, just, like, of people who it just seemed, like, unattainable. Now
Mhm.
everyone's just too tangible, and everyone has a show, and and that's another thing, it's like, going back to you, everyone has a home studio. Like, how do you combat that? How do you like, what do you say to people who have a home studio and you're like, "Hey, I have this." I mean, I could speak for you, but for yourself, what do you say to the people who may want the best product, but they're kind of settling with the home studio?
To clients, I mean, good luck. Best of luck to you. There's some fantastic work that comes from home studios. This is a home studio, technically. This is our home. It just has, two incredible sounding rooms and it's smack dab in the middle of it, and a lot of gear that was, handcrafted and selected over many, many years and bought, from the success of the recordings of the previous gear. You know, you can do that in a home studio. I would say that there are certain things that are easier and certain things that are harder. Drums, I challenge anybody to record drums that sound like drums recorded with me, but I'm very confident in that and have heard the difference between doing it myself in a room for years and doing it in a studio I paid a lot of money to record in, but no one really knew what they were doing, and then coming to a fantastic sounding room where people really knew their shit, and then spending 12 years here. It's like, yeah, I think that level of understanding and acoustics matters for things like drums. If you want to do, choir, strings, ambient piano, the depth that those things require to sound the way that I think those classic records sounded best, you want a studio environment. Um, but I encourage everybody to record at home, and I've learned from people that record at home things like loop record and recording on handheld mics or in unconventional places, and all those things that make artists more comfortable when they perform. I've absorbed and made into my workflow that now, can challenge that or help to make people who were recording at home more comfortable or feel like, oh no, I could do it the way I do it at home. And if they can't do the whole record with me, then I, do your guitars at home.
Mm,
It's not in everybody's budget to do the whole thing in a studio, but there is some great stuff out there, you know? There are some great companies, Mike has a pack with STL, and I think sounds fantastic. That's all based on the amps in this studio, and I have libraries that I've made with Amplitude. All of their software is incredibly deep with options, and there are innumerable other companies that make rivaling excellent guitar sounds. Certainly, well enough that you can commit to something you think sounds really good and get a good performance at home. Maybe save a DI, maybe reamp things if you want to, but you know there are things like that that are closer just by nature of the simplicity of how they are to record. I mean, drums, I think, you could do masterclass in that. And I think vocals, you know, if you are an experienced studio vocalist, you may be better on your own or may not need that coaching. I think a lot of people benefit from having somebody coaching them and amping them up and helping them decide things on the way and sort of streamlining the process instead of just like doing it 100 times and then not knowing what to pick through because it's all you. It's fresh ears. Certain things like that a lot of times work better in the studio. So if I'm rivaling home studios, people will still, I think, come to me for those very critical things. So I don't worry about, I don't worry about the home studio.
yeah, interesting. You embrace it. That's like the concept of when Napster and LimeWire were new and artists were freaking out. And then it came to a time where people just embraced it. Hey, listen, you got to embrace the change, right? However, I don't embrace.
Wisely, I think. I don't think you just tacitly like and accept everything. I think, there's you got to say no to stuff, you
Mhm.
know. I think or how can it be better? I don't think anybody's happy with streaming. Nobody, except the people that, you
No,
know,
I mean, people get found on streaming pretty easily,
sure, to
you know,
what end?
but you don't get paid. That's the problem.
They found yeah, it is a diminishing return, Yes, you can very, very slowly build a fan base by being discovered on a streaming platform. You could eventually reach enough people where people might come to a show or buy something and become a fan. That is totally valid, you know? So it's not really fair to say that, oh, it's not good, it's not a good thing. Of course it's a good thing. Music discovery has evolved fantastically, from the days of like trading tapes or in my generation of burning CDs for friends and things like that, and then moving into downloading. Um, yeah, it's absolutely an evolved platform. It's just nobody had any say that has any real stake in making music or making money from music as to what the terms of those transactions were. And in 1990 something, I paid $20 for a record happily. And that money back then, if I could do that and love that record, you can pay for music. And proof of concept, that talk to anybody who's paid for a piece of gear that sucks, they love it. You know why? Because they paid for it. They set an intention. I'm gonna get that thing and I'm gonna pay for it and I'm gonna earn it and now it's mine and I love it. You can't tell them that sounds bad. If you bought music, you would love it so much more. People that buy records fucking love them.
Didn't you ever?
They love them. I
Didn't you?
love my record collection.
Didn't you also buy based on like the album art? Like, didn't that affect you? Like, I picked up albums,
If you
but
were
like,
lucky enough to have money to like
well, I'm
go
just
into a
saying, like,
record store and like buy
like,
what tops out, yeah.
I would have to buy the tapes, because I couldn't afford the CDs. The CDs were always more, so I would buy like a tape or whatever. But like the
Yeah.
name of a band was important, the art, and then a lot of times it the art and the sound like somehow resonated, like worked together.
Yeah. 100%. And my father had a big record collection and I would pull based on what looked good, or who had a cool name. And then I would listen to a few songs and if there was something on there that I liked, then that was it for me. And that was now my record. And you know, it's a beautiful thing.
It is a beautiful thing, and
It's a beautiful thing.
I there are so many albums that I just remember popping into my tape player, Discman, and all that stuff, and it just like I wore it down, man. I just like listened and listened and listened,
Yep.
and it meant so much more to me than just like a playlist.
Hmm.
It
Yeah.
makes me
When
kind
was the last
of
time you, like, scrolled through your, TV streaming thing and, "That's the thing I wanna see, yeah!" Like, it's option paralysis. It flexes a different muscle in your brain, man. Like,
dude,
you're not
the human condition sucks, man. It's like we're forever trapped, dude, because like we're either we're either wanting more and we have it right now. We have more than ever and we have everything at our fingertips.
why aren't
Dude,
you happy?
what is this? What is this? Dude, this is a fucking phone that we have
I've been
ac-
old guy yelling at my new phone
I
for
could
2
talk
weeks
to
straight.
yeah, I could
"Where's the
talk
button?"
to someone across the world, dude. Like,
Yeah.
and then, but then we're going back to like actually simplicity was beautiful. And then if you go back to your person, I remember being in elementary school, middle school, fantasizing. I actually thought of like if I had like a phone, something, some kind of device where I could watch TV in my pocket. That'd be so cool. Imagine that.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Imagine that. And but
Yeah,
it's like I
best
didn't.
time to be alive, isn't it?
Was that?
Best time to be alive, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. No, but I think it like it made things more special, dude. It made things more special. Then like it's hard to I don't know. Is this the last of that? Like are is this the last of like that aspect of when people get older, they're gonna be like, I wish I had that because like now, I mean, it's only gonna get better, but is it gonna be worse too? Like,
Yes,
where
I
are we
guess, yeah,
going,
so
man? Where are we going in music? What's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? Like, I've actually made full songs just putting
mhm,
in a prompt
mhm.
with lyrics and everything. I have a song all about Bill Murray. It's pretty sick.
Good luck, I mean, moving somebody with it, that's all I have to say, is that we've suffered many, many swings, even just in music production, of things that have gotten overcooked and over, formulaic, and the the second people think they have it figured out is when it's the most lost and needs to be trashed, and it usually always swings back to an organic, centric way of doing things where people fall in love and romanticize the environment of collaborating on music with other people and making something made by people. And I don't know, every song that's ever made anybody cry or feel anything has been made by people, you know?
Yes. Yes.
If you're voting for computers and you're voting for AI to do that, they have no record. They have no,
Mm.
cred as
I
far as I'm
I
concerned.
so agree with you. And
It's good for jobs, It'll do jobs, but that's it.
yeah,
It's
I
it's the responsibility of the consumer too, I place a lot of responsibility on the people that listen to music and the people that consider themselves authorities or academics on the subject, to care about what's good and to be a little bit intellectual about it and not listen to everything that's shoved down your throat
mhm,
as if, you don't know where it comes from because some things are force fed to you and you should be well read. You should know a legacy of music that came before you and be a little bit enriched because you'll have a higher taste and you'll recognize better things and that will be better for art
yep.
than, just liking whatever's new in the day. I like some of the music I grew up on and some of it I listen to. I'm like, if that didn't come out when you were 14, you would not listen to that crap.
But dude, like there's some recordings. I mean, also recordings took a lot. They were more expensive then. But like if you listen to like I don't know, like it's like that early that one Nirvana record with the naked baby in it. Like that album holds up, dude. Like there are albums that just hold up. Like I don't know, like this like sonically I'm talking about.
Yeah, I wore that one out. I think that's, again, that's a Sound City record. That's like a 12-day record or something like that. That's like a band that had no budget who, went with a producer that was doing some of their favorite bands, but they're all indies, and punk and underground kind of stuff. And like we got this studio. It's like, yeah, they've got this thing that we hear is like really important, this really good console, and we can get the rate really cheap, and let's just like rehearse this stuff and go in and power through it. And it was, an incredibly important piece of work for that reason, because there was imperative.
I
And I think that the original mixes sound great too, the Butch Vig mixes.
I didn't hear it.
Yeah.
What's different about it?
It just sounds a little more raw, like, a little more badass and a little thicker and aggressive. The Andy Wallace stuff is a little slicker.
Why,
You know?
like, why let me try to phrase this in an interesting and not stupid way. There are producers, engineers like yourself who have the tools, the means to do things that most people don't. You are a musician. There are other people in your position that are making their own records, not naming names, but
Mm.
they're starting bands and they're on tour, but he's like maybe not, but he's like started it and they like, dude, you could write you why don't you make your own band? Why don't you make your own projects too? Like I understand like you could though. Like you have a kick-ass
Mhm.
like sound, like you could do everything. Like is there or are you? Is there stuff that you're doing on your own?
There are things that I have incredible amounts of musical fulfillment being a producer or an engineer or part of, and there are things that I am lucky enough to play on. Um, I do play guitar and bass on people's records when they ask me to, when they need a bass player or it's not in the budget. And I feel very, qualified to do that when there is no one to ask.
Well, why don't you
Uh,
just start a project?
but
Like, dude, I'll play drums.
because it is a beyond full-time job, and I reiterate, that it is highly competitive. Even when I feel like I'm not as busy as I could be or should be, I still have plenty to do, and do well. Things that I can't just sit down and spit out in a half hour. Things that I have to really put my heart and a lot of mental power into making sure are really as good as they can be, for the sake of people that are going to have to live with it forever. And that is a beyond full time job. Uh, Not to say that, I don't sit down and play music for myself at the end of the day, or play, guitar for my daughter, or, you know, love that part of making music. There are riffs that are floating around, but, it's a bit selfish for me. I think it would have to be like a passion thing at this point.
Yeah,
I'm blessed to be a part of music as a career,
yeah,
you know? So it's less of an itch for me to scratch to do that kind of stuff. And I don't get very stoked on the idea of writing jingles or writing for film. I know some people that are incredibly, talented to do that.
Frank, how do we bring it back? Like, I don't want to give up. Like, how do we bring back the excitement for like real, tangible creativity? How do we bring back the excitement for? I mean, it's there. I know that it's not gone. You just said it before that people are loving it, and it's in a different means. But
Mhm.
I think that people are too heavily just pressing into just like the quick like the bands are going away. Like the band like people are just on stage now with the computer.
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
do we just like let go and say, okay, this is what it is now?
Yeah, it's part of, I think, I think it's partly a social thing and a generational thing, that people are, with other people less, and that they're more comfortable and encouraged and technologically capable of making music on their own. So there's just less imperative. When I was growing up, I could not play to a backing track. I had to have a drummer friend to play my favorite song. That's not necessary. Like, there were jam tracks and things like that, but like not to the level and ease that other people have them. They're just not encouraged to be collaborative. So the only people that are going to do that are the people that understand. So if you're a parent, put your kid in a musical program and teach them to play with other people, teach them to be social, teach them to listen to other musicians, and they will grow an affinity for it. It's just as simple as that. And if anybody wants to see their favorite band grow, freaking support them in a way that is going to encourage them, which means show up and
Yes.
buy their real merch, and tell them that you like them. You
Yes.
know, don't leave a phony comment hoping they'll respond. Don't stream their music for free and never tell anybody about them. It doesn't do as much for them. You know,
Preach.
this
Preach.
is it Bandcamp Friday. Shout out Bandcamp for being the real music platform.
Hell yeah. Fuck yeah, Bandcamp. Let's go.
I love Bandcamp, and I love the format. I love how easy it is to find bands, and how well organized it is, and you set your own price, and They're so artist friendly.
They are.
And I like when labels, and a lot of labels that we work with also have their own Bandcamp, so they have a structure in, and a foothold in a part of the music business that does not completely suck away all the revenue. So that's really, really great when, Equal Vision or something has, a Bandcamp, a Wax Bodega, really, really important. It can't all come from streaming. And artists need the support to believe that it's worth going out again, to be tour bud, to go sell it on the road and suffer all of the things that all my friends go through, which is vans breaking down. And also, fuck anybody who breaks into a musician's van. I can't stand seeing that everybody I know that goes on tour gets robbed,
Yeah.
and I really don't want to see that happen. It is so common. So protect yourself when you go on the road, and make sure you're parking against the wall and checking the area, and you've got things locked and hidden away and are insured for those kinds of things with backups, because seeing people having to put up GoFundMe's and stuff like that just so they can get home is terrible.
Awful.
And we should be working in the other direction. So if you're a person who's, committed to a life of crime, pick somebody else to rob. Seriously.
Yes.
It is so shitty, man. We're stealing from working class people that are struggling to like bring something into the world. It is like the worst person that you can target. So that's
Well
so shitty.
said, Frank. Well
Yeah.
said. I remember touring, there was one tour we went to Canada. I think it was like with War of Ages, a bunch of like face down bands. It was like a solid state band. I
Mhm.
remember we were in Canada and it was in Montreal, and we all had to take turns. Like if you were a band not playing, we had to take turns watching all of the band's vans. Like we had like bats and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And like we just because like that was like there are certain areas you had to watch out for.
Mhm. Yeah.
But it's kind of fucked up. Like I still like, even though you're on tour watching bands every night, you still like, I want to support them or like hang out with them. It's just like you have to be the band to watch, make sure people don't steal shit. That
Mhm.
sucks, dude.
Mhm.
It's also kind of unnerving when you like, a lot of times we had to sleep in the van too, and like you just don't know what the hell's gonna happen. Oh, dude, there's so many crazy stories about that too. It's just like
Mhm.
you're sleeping in a parking lot. Someone like we had these two girls. It was like randomly in like Mississippi or some shit like that. We were just like trying to sleep. We had tried to get a
Mhm.
couple hours before we had to drive again, and we're sleeping. We just hear a knock on the window. We're like, "What the fuck?" It was like these two drunk girls. I'm like, what the hell's going on? We just want to sleep. And they're like,
Mhm.
hey, y'all band? Y'all band? Uh, and we're like,
They weren't at the show, they just thought they didn't know you were touring musicians,
yeah.
and okay, cool.
And we're like, yeah, yeah, but we're like, I'm so sorry. Like, this is really cool, but like, we're trying to go to sleep. And they're like, and usually as a band, like we kind of like attention, and we're
Yeah.
like kind of narcissistic in that way, but that's how fucking tired we were. We're
It's
like,
a testament to, yeah, to how stressful it is, and
yeah, like these two
one of
young.
my favorite things to do is to, yeah, talk to people that are on long drives, you know?
Yeah. And then they're like, they like made us roll the window down. Like we eventually got out because they just kept on talking. And then she's like, y'all know Rockstar? And we're like, what are you talking about? He's like, yeah, the song Rockstar, Nickelback. And we're like, and then this girl started singing like the whole Nickelback catalog. And we were all just like, yo, and it's just like, how something could be not funny. And it just keeps going, and then it becomes ridiculous, and like hilarity ensues. It was
Yeah,
just
yeah.
that. We all just
That's how they made that, "I Think You Should Leave." That's the whole premise of the show. Just keep going. What happened if it didn't stop? Yeah. Their bones are their money.
I think
Yeah.
that kind of humor is so, it
Yeah.
takes a confidence to do that, right?
Yeah.
Don't you feel that it takes a real confidence to do that? Because, like, you could just bomb,
Uh-huh.
and it takes this willingness to, like, put yourself out there to not, like, care if you bomb. It's
Uh-huh.
just like that Andy Kaufman type thing where it's just like you just start reading a book and there's no punchline.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah, it's a bit of a social experiment, maybe a bit just for his own, tickle or whatever, but every he's royalty to other comics that I love and respect, you know?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. What's new for you? What's next on your plate, Frank?
I think, you know doing some stuff with God's Eyes. You know, talk about a touring band. Holy shit, those guys work freaking hard.
Yeah.
You know, very very excited. Awesome band. Everybody rips. It's mean as hell. So you know, and if they're not touring today, they'll be touring next week. You know, they've got the van. They can change the brakes in the parking lot, and they're road dogs for sure.
What what is what's their style like? What
I would,
God's
yeah, definitely influenced by that classic, you know, metalcore kind of stuff. From Autumn to Ashes or
right, yes.
kind of stuff. Actually, Nick does a lot of stuff with them too. The singer, they're pretty close now, and I got to work with Fran, who did their feature on the last full length, and yeah, I would say, you know, Chariot,
Mm.
As Cities Burn, certainly, you know, very, very lucky to have bands around here that like records that were done here. I'm like not gonna lie that that doesn't help and isn't freaking awesome, you know.
God's Eyes.
But
Are
yeah,
are they signed?
they are currently
Equal
signed.
Division?
No, they were No Sleep Band.
No Sleep.
Yeah,
What's the label that's feeding you the most work right now?
labels don't feed me work.
Yes, they do, dude. You get, like,
No,
every
artists that like and respect us come to us. It's as simple as that. If we haven't done something that they like or weren't recommended by somebody that they like and trust, you know, um, it's always word of mouth. It's a word of mouth business. Our business card is our record. There aren't ads, and there aren't fixed label relationships that promise us anything. You know,
Mhm.
they just don't exist. You know, I've done a lot of records. The most records for labels would be Equal Vision, Triple Crown when it was Triple Crown, from Fred, who's now Wax Bodega, and Dan and Stephanie at Equal Vision, who were freaking awesome to us and very, very kind. And, you know, like sent me that Hopefall vinyl and stuff. You know, that was really sweet. Always lots of swag. Always visiting the artists when they're making records. You know, every record that we've done for bands that have been signed, they've come and visited. It's
I need
mostly been those labels, um, over the years, yeah.
I wanna get on that wall of fame over there. I need it. I need to. I've recorded enough with you. I deserve it, okay?
Yeah,
Deserve
you'll be in the G section, man.
it. That's true. I have too
Shout out Glorin, Glass Lungs.
Yeah, shout out
Which I'm
Lauren.
very, very proud of. And
Absolutely.
Andy has expertly drummed on and fucking broken down genres seriously with your like tasteful application of like very nostalgic playing, but very, very restrained and for the song. Like, you know, it's always works in the track, you know.
Thank you.
Killer. And chops for freaking days, man. The shit you did on Glorin, I have, you know, people that are very well respected that I would put you ahead of them. So cheers, man. That was
Thank you.
fucking awesome.
Wow, that means a lot to me. Woo, that's beautiful.
Real drums, baby.
That was a that one song, "Thief of Always," was probably the most taxing physically that I've ever recorded.
That was a long one. Yeah.
That was brutal, and I don't know how you mixed that and did all that goodness with it. That's a tough one.
Yeah.
And we're coming back to you soon, buddy. I'm telling you, we have
I
some
can't
good
wait.
shit.
I can't wait. Yeah.
It's gonna be sick. Frank, we're gonna wrap this up. I love you so much. I want to do this
Listen,
again.
man.
I want to figure out fun ways to incorporate you into the show. We'll be a fly on the wall. Trust me, we won't be. You won't even see us. Honestly, like we'll dress up like a couch, and we'll just have like a little. You know, like that scene in "It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia" where Frank comes out of the couch. It's like all naked and
Yeah.
sweaty. It's gonna be us, tour buds,
Hell yeah.
naked.
Down for it, man. Absolutely.
Um,
All
Frank,
couches get sit on though. Just gonna tell you, like you're gonna be a piece of furniture. You're gonna get
like
used.
that.
So
I
be
like
ready for
that.
that little Santa experience.
I love it. Frank Mitaritonna. I love you so much, buddy. Thank you so
Love
much.
you too, man. Thank you so much for thinking of me and having me and spending the time. You know, we'll do it again soon.
We'll do it again soon. Love you, dude. Mwah.
Love you too, man. Peace.
Everyone, Frank Mitaritona. What a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful soul. That man means a lot to me. Everyone give Frank a follow. We'll put his Instagram handle up on our socials. And please give us a follow if you are seeing us for the first time or hearing about us for the first time. Please follow us, send us around to your friends and family. We're just trying to spread love about music. We love music and we love people. We love people in the music. And it makes us really happy to do this. Love you all. Thank you so much. Oh, and also we're talking to Jay St. Angelo of Tired Radio next week. That's gonna be fucking sick. And we have a couple bangers come up too. Jay's a banger, and then we have like two more other huge artists, and we can't wait to freaking tell you about it. So stay tuned. Mwah.